Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel English Tutorial. I am Rajni Meena, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government College, Rawatbhata. Today we will discuss about Thomas Stern Eliot, short में T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot was an American-born British poet, essayist, publisher, playwright, literary critic, and editor. Born in St. Louis, Missouri, to a prominent Boston Brahmin family, he moved to England in 1914 at the age of 25 and went on to settle, work, and marry there. He became a British subject in 1927 at the age of 39, subsequently renouncing his American citizenship. Considered one of the 20th century major poets, Eliot attracted widespread attention for his poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock in 1915, which was seen as a masterpiece of the modernist movement. It was followed by some of the best known poems in the English language, including Wasteland, Hollow Man, Ash Wednesday, For Quartet. He was also known for his 7 plays, particularly Murder in the Cathedral, The Cocktail Party. He was awarded Nobel Prize in Literature in 1948 for his outstanding pioneer contribution to present day poetry. Eliot exercised a strong influence on Anglo-American culture from the 1920s until late in the century. His experiment in diction, style, and versification revitalized English poetry, and in a series of critical essays, he shattered old orthodoxies and erected new ones. Early life and education. The Eliots were a Boston Brahmin family with roots in England and New Zealand. Eliot's paternal grandfather, William Greenleaf Eliot, had moved to St. Louis, Missouri to establish a Unitarian Christian church there. His father, Henry Ware Eliot, was a successful businessman, president, and treasurer of the Hydraulic Press Brick Company in St. Louis. His mother, Charlotte Champe Stearns, wrote poetry and was a social worker, a new profession in the early 20th century. Eliot was the last of 6 surviving children, known to family and friends as Tom. He was the namesake of his maternal grandfather, Thomas Stearns. Eliot's childhood infatuation with literature can be ascribed to several factors. First, he had to overcome physical limitations as a child, struggling from a congenital double inguinal hernia. He could not participate in many physical activities and thus was prevented from socializing with his peers. So, as he was often isolated, his love for literature developed. Once he learned to read, the young boy immediately became obsessed with books, favoring tales of savage life, the Wild West, of or Mark Twain's thrill-seeking Tom Sawyer. In his memoir of Eliot, his friend Robert Sancourt commented that the young Eliot would often curl up in the window seat behind an enormous book, setting the drugs of dreams against the pain of living. Secondly, Eliot credited his hometown with fueling his literary vision. It is self evident that St. Louis affected me more deeply than any other environment have ever done. I feel that there is something in having passed one's childhood beside the big river which is incommunicable to those people who have not. I consider myself fortunate to have been born here rather than in Boston or New York or London. From 1898 to 1905, Eliot attended Smith Academy, the boys' college preparatory division of Washington University, where his studies included Latin, ancient Greek, French, German. He began to write poetry when he was 14 under the influence of Edward Fitzgerald and Fitzgerald's translation of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. He said the results were gloomy and despairing, and he destroyed them. His first published poem, A Fable for Feasters, was written as a school exercise and was published in the Smith Academy Record in February 1905. Also published there in April 1905 was his oldest surviving poem in manuscript as untitled lyric, later revised and reprinted as song in the Harvard Advocate, Harvard University's student magazine. He also published three short stories in 1905. These are Birds of Prey, A Tale of a Whale, and The Man Who Was King. The last mentioned story significantly reflects his exploration of Agorot Blaze while visiting the 1904 World's Fair of St. Louis. Such a link with indigenous people importantly antedates his anthropological studies at Harvard. Eliot lived in St. Louis, Missouri for the first 16 years of his life at the house on Locust St. where he was born. After going away to school in 1905, he only returned to St. Louis for vacations and visits. Despite moving away from the city, Eliot wrote to a friend that Missouri and the Mississippis have made a deeper impression on me than any other part of the world. Following graduation, Eliot attended Milton Academy in Massachusetts for a preparatory year where he met Scofield Thayer, who later published The Wasteland. He studied at Harvard College from 1906 to 1909, earning a Bachelor of Arts in an elective program similar to comparative literature in the 1909 and a Master of Arts in English Literature the following year. Because of his year at Milton Academy, Eliot was allowed to earn his Bachelor of Arts after 3 years instead of the usual tour. Frank Kermode writes that the most important moment of Eliot's undergraduate career was in 1908 when he discovered Arthur Symons' The Symbolist Movement in Literature. This introduced him to Jules Laforgue, Arthur Rimbaud, and Paul Verlaine. Without Verlaine, Eliot wrote, he might never have heard of Tristan Cavere and his book Les Armor Janes, a work that affected the course of Eliot's life. After working as a philosophy assistant at Harvard from 1909 to 1910, Eliot moved to Paris where from 910 to 911 he studied philosophy at the Sorbonne. He attended lectures by Henry Bergson and read poetry with Henry Alvan Foreigner. From 1911 to 1914, he was back at Harvard studying Indian philosophy and Sanskrit. Whilst a member of the Harvard Graduate School, Eliot met and fell in love with Emily Hale. Eliot was awarded a scholarship to Merton College, Oxford in 1914. He first visited Marburg, Germany, where he planned to take a summer program, but when the First World War broke out, he went to Oxford instead. At the time, so many African American students and attended Merton that the Junior Common Room proposed a motion that this society abhors the Americanization of Oxford. It was defeated by 2 votes after Eliot reminded the students how much they obey American culture. Next, Eliot's marriage. Before leaving the US, Eliot had told Emily Hale that he was in love with her. He exchanged letters with her from Oxford during 1914-1915, but they did not meet again until 1927. In a letter to Aiken late in December 1914, Eliot, aged 26, wrote, "I am very dependent upon women, I mean female society." Less than 4 months later, Thayer introduced Eliot to Vivienne Hayes-Wood, a Cambridge governess. They were married at Hampstead Register Office on 26 June 1915. After a short visit alone to his family in the United States, Eliot returned to London and took several teaching jobs, such as lecturing at Birkbeck College, University of London. The philosopher Bertrand Russell took an interest in Vivienne while the newlyweds stayed in his flat. Some scholars have suggested that she and Russell had an affair, but the allegations were never confirmed. Marriage was marked unhappy in the part because of Vivienne's health problem. In a letter addressed to Ezra Pound, she covers an extensive list of her symptoms, which included a habitually high temperature, fatigue, insomnia, migraines, and colitis. This, coupled with apparent mental instability, means that she was often sent away by Eliot and her doctors for extended periods of time in hope for improving her health. And as time went on, he became increasingly detached from her. The couple formally separated in 1933, and in 1938, Biana's brother Maurice had her committed to a mental hospital against her will, where she remained until her death of heart disease in 1947. Their relationship became the subject of a 1984 play, Tom and Beeb, which in 1994 was adapted as a film of the same name. In a private letter written in his 60s, Eliot confessed, "I came to persuade myself that I was in love with Vivienne simply because I wanted to burn my boats and commit myself to staying in England." And she persuaded herself. She would save the poet by keeping him in England. To her, marriage brought no happiness. To me, it brought the state of mind out of which came the wasteland. Teaching, banking, and publishing. After leaving Merton, Eliot worked as a school teacher, most notably at Highgate School, a private school in London, where he taught French and Latin. His students included the young John Benjamin. Later, he taught at the Royal Grammar School, High Wycombe State School in Buckinghamshire. To earn extra money, he wrote books review and lectured at evening extension courses at the University College London and Oxford. In 1917, he took a position at Lloyds Bank in London, working on foreign accounts. On a trip to Paris in August 1920 with the artist Wyndham Lewis, he met the writer James Joyce. Eliot said he found Joyce arrogant. Joyce doubted Eliot's ability as a poet at the time, but the two soon became friends, with Eliot visiting Joyce whenever he was in Paris. Eliot and Wyndham Lewis also maintained a close friendship, leading to Lewis later making his well-known portrait painting of Eliot in 1938. Charles Biville recommended T.S. Eliot to Geoffrey Faber in 1925. Eliot left Lloyd to become a director in the publishing firm Faber and Gayer, later Faber and Faber, इसका नाम कर दिया गया, where he remained for the rest of his career. At Faber and Faber, he was responsible for publishing important English poets like W. H. Auden, Stephen Spender, T.S. Hughes. Conversion to Anglicanism and British citizenship. On 29 June 1927, Eliot converted to Anglicanism and from Unitarianism, and in November that year he took British citizenship. He became a warden of his parish church, St. Stephen's, Gloucester Road, London, and a life member of the Society of King Charles the Martyr. He is specifically identified as Anglo-Catholic. Proclaimed himself classicist in literature, royalist in politics, and Anglo-Catholic in religion. About 30 years later, Eliot commented on his religious views that he combined a Catholic cast of mind, a Calvinist heritage, and a puritanical temperament. He also had wider spiritual interest, commenting that I see the path of progress for modern man in his occupation with his own self, with his inner being, and citing Goethe and Rudolf Steiner as an example of such a direction. One of the Eliot's biographers, Peter Ackroyd, commented that the proposals of were twofold. One, the Church of England offered Eliot some hope for himself. I think Eliot needed some resting place. But secondly, it attached Eliot to the English community and English culture. Thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, please like and subscribe it.